Hi, thank you for coming to the Taliesin Antiques YouTube channel. Now, if you haven't watched before, my name is Kieran Hughes Jones. I'm an antiques dealer based in South Wales. And today we're going to be having a tour around the Pumping Station Antique Centre in Cardiff. As you can see behind me, absolutely massive building, huge amount of car parking space, open 7 days a week, 10 AM till 5 PM. So there should be plenty to see. Let's go and have a look what I can find. The pumping station has over 30 independent dealers at the minute, which gives you a sense of the size of the place. If you wanted to buy anything, on the left hand side you see the front desk, you take the item there and you can pay. The dealer doesn't need to be around for you to buy something. As we're having a look around the ground floor, I thought I'd give you a history of the building itself, which is now Grade 2 listed. It was originally built between 1907 and 1910 according to records which are available, and it was used to provide a new main sewer for the growing western district of Cardiff. It remained in that purpose until about the 1970s. It was left unused for several years, and then it was later bought by a Mr. Adrian Roach, who adapted it for use as an antique centre. It's an iconic building in Cardiff, and you get a great view of it from one of the main roads around the outskirts of the city, so most people will be aware of it from around here. The reimagining of the building on the inside is still amazing decades later, and it's one of those places you just hope will still be treasured in the years to come. I had a closer look at this Buddha head because if it was an antique one, 19th century or earlier, from say Nepal or Tibet, then there could be some exciting value to it. And as you can see, it does have verdigris, which is that green stain around it, which is oxidization from over the years, but I just wasn't convinced it was one of those pieces. So the setup of this ground floor is you see the stalls there around the sides, and then in the center you have this column of cabinets, really large cabinets, which dealers have different access to. This one was a good one. There was some nice Japanese porcelain Gattani, there was a Millefiori glass vase. I like the different selection of Royal Doulton available as well, and as you're seeing, just loads of different things to have a look at. This is why you can get lost in an antique centre. There's just so much to see. This is one of the first stalls that you see on the ground floor, and quite a good mix of items in here. A lot of ceramics, and some of them are dating back to the 18th century, which we will see in a moment. These tiles are quite interesting. They are by Minton. Around the 1880s is when the design would have been first made. They have been reproduced since then, so it's hard to tell the age, but they're quite interesting because they are showing stories from the King Arthur folklore, so possibly some really good value to them. Now, if you're familiar with my website or my previous videos, you will know that I am very keen on Chinese porcelain. By no means an expert, but it's something I am learning about. Now, that teapot there was Famille Verte, which is a type of porcelain with the green enamels made mainly for exports. So there's possibly some age to that. I didn't have a proper look, so that might be something I need to go back and do another day. In this section, there seemed to be a good selection of good old English ceramics. I believe the blue and white bowl at the back is Worcester, possibly old. If we looked into it, we're thinking maybe around 1800, possibly earlier. I believe this cup was Spode, and again could be going into the 18th century. So a nice selection, especially if you do collect that type of old bone china or porcelain. There's a really good selection there to have a look at. So this cabinet is in the same store, and you're seeing some very interesting pieces here. So there's some Corley porcelain dating back to the 18th century as well. This is when they were making porcelain to imitate the Chinese designs that were being exported over. And we're seeing some interesting bone apple cores and different pieces like that. So we're back looking at the central cabinet now, and in the middle we're having a look at a lot of these porcelain lady figures. There's a couple of Royal Dalton figures there. You see the monk, and I think it's Falstaff, the red one there, is quite a famous, iconic Royal Dalton figure. This is the next cabinet along, and these porcelain figures grab my eye. They are Chinese. The style of the plain white is known as blanc de Chine. If they can be shown to be older ones, and I find these really hard to date, if they're 17th to 18th century, then they can be extremely valuable. These ones probably going to be more mid 20th century, so not as valuable. This bird here, I believe, is a parakeet and made by Royal Ducks out of Czechoslovakia, and they can be very valuable, up to probably more than £100, those type of figures as well. So this is the next door along on the ground floor, and it's quite a big area with lots of interesting pieces. I think an interior designer would love coming into this place because there's just so many different styles, shapes, pieces from across the ages. Now this steamer trunk grabbed my eye. It's not something I've ever really bought before, but it just seemed to be in really good condition. And I found there a maker's mark as well, referring to Brussels, I think. So I thought that made it that bit more intriguing. So if you're after one of them, I thought that was a really good one. This is a great pine box, and these are really popular in antique centres because people actually still use them for blankets, toys, that type of thing. This one was really good because of I thought the painting around it was particularly nice with the nautical theme. This Victorian glass epergne, or epergne, I'm not sure how you say it, was quite an interesting centrepiece, I thought. And I've only recently learned those little pockets there were used to serve things like fruits or sweetmeats. Nice thing, and a nice centrepiece, and looked to be in good condition. £150, which I understand the general asking price for them are usually potentially closer to like £400. Seemed to be a very good price. So it wouldn't be a Welsh antique centre without some miners' lamps. These ones are made by E. Thomas and Williams of Aberdare. They are more modern ones, but they're still very popular for people who are just decorating their house and collectors. This basket here is Chinese, and it is lacquered, which means it's been varnished with a great amount of skill with a natural resin which is found, I believe, in Korea and parts of China. It is probably more mid-century, so more mid-20th century, and it's worth around £50, but they look good, and they're nice interior pieces. I also thought this lamp was a great interior piece, a fantastic size, looked the part, and was only £75. I love this table, a low table, which featured a tiger there in a jungle setting. It's probably Indian or Burmese. We're back to the central cabinets, and the first thing that caught my eye is this vase with those stylized handles. It's actually from Belgium and can be of good value, so if you pick them up they can be around £40–50. I'm now having a good look at this beautiful little pot. It's called Benjerong, the star, and it's from Thailand. Now dating these can be difficult because they're still making them to this day. If that was an antique one, I believe it could be quite highly valuable. That might be something, again, I go back and have a look at in more detail another day. I always like having a look at a glass paperweight, especially ones like this. This is a Scottish one, probably 1970s, 80s, either made by Strathern or Perthshire. If it was Perthshire, it would be that little bit more valuable. but nice and decorative, really well made. I had a good look at this brass thing with what looked like maybe a bone handle. I didn't know what it was, and I still don't. So if you do, please leave a comment telling me what it is. So we're coming to another store now, and this is one of those which just has piles of loads of different pieces. It's just you would just have to go through and have a good rummage. I think they are good to have in an antique centre, and what's good about the pumping station is you do have a good mix. You have stores like this, and then you have ones which are really refined and put a lot of time and attention into having a good look. As I say, I always find these ones enjoyable, and these are where you can sometimes get those really good finds. So this butter dish caught my eye. It is Majolica, which means it's like a tin glaze and known for its really bold colours and motifs. It was possibly a George Jones, which is a really popular, well-known maker of Majolica pottery in the late 19th century. Again, it's not something I bought on that day, but it is something I might just have to go back and have another look at. And it's just occurred to me that I should say that the reason I keep saying I might go back and have another look is because I do have an antique store myself in the centre, so I'm there quite regularly. So next time I'm in, I'll have another look at these pieces. Hopefully they're still there for me to check out. Many of you would be familiar with that type of glasswork, which is known as Mary Gregory glass. Can be Victorian. I believe it was also reproduced later on. Values can vary on those pieces. I like the look of this plate or box. I couldn't quite tell with the portrait. It was Italian Maiolica in style, which is a type of pottery which first came about in the Renaissance period and then was revived in the 19th century and can hold very good value. So we're now back to having a look at the stalls around the edges. This one is full of cabinets, lots of different pieces. I think, yeah, we're coming to in now a few Chinese and Japanese pieces, more mid 20th century, I believe, to early 20th century potentially. But a good mix and really nice, colourful things to put on the shelf. And then you've got these paperweights as well, good collection there, amongst all these other pieces. Just too many things for me just to talk about. So we're in the central stores now. This one is a really good space. Lots of a really good mix. You've got furniture, you got, I think there's like silverware there. There is ceramics and glass. Lots of different things just to have a look around and spend some time seeing if anything grabs your eye. Now, as we're having a look around, I thought this would be a good time just to ask. It wouldn't be a YouTube video without me asking if you would be kind enough to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the videos and comment. All these things go a long way, really help me boost this channel in terms of getting more views and going up the YouTube algorithm. So thank you if you've done that already, and if you haven't, if you could, that would be great. Thank you. I always have a touch of glass like this just to see how cut the glass is and the quality of it. I can't quite remember what it was on that one, but it's always a good little test just to touch it and just see how sharp those cuts are. The better the quality, the better it'll be in terms of cutting, and there'll be a nice ring to it as well. I like this large plant stand because it was really well carved and it was a very good height, and it was very well priced as well. I've actually got one in my store at a higher price than that. I think it's almost double my one, and it's not too dissimilar, so I thought that was a really fair price, and I wouldn't be surprised if that sold quite soon. That red vase caught my attention because it's actually a piece of Japanese cloisonné. The style is known as pigeon blood, which refers to the red. It reads akasuke in Japanese, I think. Now that teapot is a nice Chinese one. That could be of good age. I could go back to the 18th century. I'd need to have a proper look to know for sure. Some nice paperweights by Royal Crown Derby, a Royal Dalton flambe figure as well. Some great pieces in this cabinet. Really nice to see. There's the Moorcroft. What else we got? Troika. Always nice to see a Troika vase as well. So interesting little cabinet, that one. That little black plate there with the ship is Welsh. It's Dilwyn & Co., which are based out of Swansea and date back to the mid to late 19th century. This store is on the ground floor and is a specialised dealer with exceptional quality furniture, which by the looks of it have been restored back to their best. Some of them are so well priced. This sideboard, which is a Welsh oak one of a really good size at £2.20, I thought was an absolute steal. This French table, well carved and shaped, I can't quite remember the price, but I remember thinking it was a good one. So yeah, some great pieces in here with some amazing history, and the dealer's taken a lot of care in making sure that they are very well maintained, and for the person who buys them, they're just ready to go, ready to use straight away. This chest on a stand, as it's called, so a chest of drawers held up by legs, effectively, is just a majestic piece. It's the only way I can describe it. Absolutely stunning and would not look out of place in any stately home. So we're now looking at the cabinets before we go upstairs to the first floor. There's quite a large area just at the front there. That what you can see there is back to the front door, and as we turn around we'll see the stairs as we go up them. People love these fighter planes hanging from the ceilings. I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but they look amazing. All people always taking pictures of them and enjoying them. This cabinet I find to be amazing. I really love detailed carvings like this, and I just always think of the amount of time and attention that's gone into them. So it's a absolutely stunning piece. What we got there is just £325 for that, which, when you think about the amount of time and skill that went into them, is an incredible price. I believe this pair of beautiful vases are by Royal Vienna, probably in the late 19th century. Fantastically well priced, and they looked the part, so a good deal there for somebody. What I'm looking at now is an old Welsh Bible. I did have a look through, and I don't think I could see an actual date, but it probably dates to the late 19th century just based on other ones I've seen. The price of £60 is really good for these. They can go for a few hundred sometimes. But yeah, very nice one, and even though it has all that foxing, that's okay, because that just happens with age. So a really interesting one. I'm having a close look at this carved plant stand, which is another one in the centre, and this here is a Coalbrookdale cast iron hall stand. They are very rare. Now I do know the dealer does have the drip stand, they've just taken it away for the time being, but they do have it, and I mean the value of that is going to be up to around £1,000. Coalbrookdale, very famous name when it comes to cast iron, and that's going to be a very important popular piece. So this is the store of Dave, who is a veteran antiques dealer, and he's next door to mine. So I'm just zooming in and messing around with the zoom there, so just forgive me once I get that right. He's taught me a great deal since I've been in the pumping station, especially around his specialist areas, which are antique furniture and paintings. And I think he just has some exceptional furniture which you just don't see very often. So this sofa and armchair set are old Victorian pieces. I'm just going in on the sign if you want to have a read of that. Yeah, you just don't see furniture of this quality and age anymore. This set here, so the armchair and the salon chair, which are Edwardian, I think they're so well carved. The marquetry, which is referring to the pattern there on the wood, and the upholstery, I think they look spectacular. And you do have to have the right home for furniture like this. If you've got it, then how better to enhance the interior than with furniture like that. Some of these tables at the back, like this one, the really intricately carved example there, and the one next to it, which actually has a marble top, are both Indian, and he got these from a pair who bought a lot of their furniture over from India. Now you may not associate Indian furniture to look like this, or to be of the highest quality, but these are just really well made, and if I could have them in my home I would, especially the prices he's asking. Just looking around as well, that map there is an old Red Cross map, which apparently is quite rare. I did, on his behalf, speak to a map dealer out in the US, and they were interested, but we just couldn't organise it with the shipping. But there we go. Could be an interesting map that he's got there. Now he tells me this chest or cabinet, I'm not totally sure what it is, could be something special as well. In terms of the age of it and where it was made. So he's still researching that one. And as I'm talking, we're now coming to my store. So what we're looking at is the store I have at the minute. Now some of these pieces would have featured in other videos, such as that chest there. I have a whole video based around that one if you want to go back and have a look. Now in terms of my shop, at the minute I'm not completely happy with it, in all honesty. I am going to spend some time in the near future giving it a revamp. It's hard to explain, but I look around and just think it could have something a bit extra, and I want to show off my style and the pieces I have a bit more. I do have a lot of stuff which are maybe more things I've come across, and I'm just putting in the shop just as a way to move them on. I do want to start doing that less and less where possible. I'm zooming in on a few things which I think are good. This is a cloisonné Chinese vase, for example. It's a more modern one, more mid-20th century, but I thought it looked good with the size and on the stand. There was a nice piece of Japanese porcelain, possibly going back to the early 20th century. These are Japanese Amari figures as well. This is just my cabinet. There are lots of different pieces in there, which would be too long to list. But yeah, there are some pieces. There's a lot of pieces I'm very happy with and very proud of. However, I just want to take this place to the next level. There you have some nice Maiolica pottery from different places. This is a amazing sculpture. It's quite modern. It's not my normal thing, but it just looks the part. Just going around having a look at a few other cabinets. So some of my paperweights there, some glass pieces. Yeah, there's a real mix. Just a mask out of nowhere. It is a bit random, some of this. See that head there? I love that head. I didn't zoom in on it, unfortunately, but that's a Carmarthen studio pottery bust of a Carmarthen boatman. There you're looking at my famous wall of masks. You got some Swansea and Nangaru porcelain there in one of my other cabinets. There's a Nangaru piece. It's nice to be able to sell good Welsh porcelain, which, you know, very rare. When the Nangaru porcelain is when we were making the best porcelain in Europe for a short time around the 1820s. So it's nice to sell that within a Welsh antique centre. As you can see, there's some empty spots in the cabinet where I need to refill, bring new stuff in. I like these plates. These are Portuguese, Majolica again, very, very interesting. There's the plant stand I was talking about earlier on. A really good height and really well carved. And yeah, I'm asking 150, which I think is a good price on that one. So yeah, really good. We're coming to the end of my shop now, so just having a look at a few other things as we move on. We're now going around the other stalls. Now, I'm not checking out every stall, I should say. I'm focusing on the antique places. There are other stores that do more vintage or books and toys. They are really good, so you know they're worth looking into if you like buying those type of things. But I'm just not focusing on them as much, just because this is an antiques channel. Where I'm looking now is upstairs again. There's a small section where you can go upstairs. It's almost like an attic space, I think it's referred to in the centre. Lots of different things to have a look at up here. Another one of those places where you can just have a really good rummage. I like this Japanese Amari porcelain vase. I just thought it was a bit too modern for me. I like the relief pattern of the dragon. So yeah, if you have the time and you like having a look around lots of different things, then this is another great section. Here's a fantastic view of the whole centre from upstairs, and you can see everything there, and you can just see the sheer size of the place. I'm going to try and explain where we are now. So I've gone back downstairs. I'm still on the first floor, and I've gone through the doors into the next section. Again, this just shows you how big the place is. So there's another section now downstairs as I'm showing, and there's a few places around the top. So I'm just going around this shop now. This one was closed on the day I was recording, which was a weekday. It would be open as normal, definitely on a Saturday, Sunday. Lots of different clothing, fabrics and other interesting things. So you've got those nice door stops there. That's a nice wood carving. I thought it's probably Indian or Burmese. Different signs, and here's a view of that little downstairs area that we're going to go and have a look at now. Quite good to see those old football boots and that old football. I'd never really seen them before, so quite different, and I thought they had a nice interior look actually on the shelf. I have to say, I don't think I've ever seen old tyres in an antique centre before, but you know what? You never know. You never know who's going to come in and will make good use of them, and they weren't charging a lot. I think it's like £10–20 each, so why not, eh? I do not know anything about antique guns, but I think they look fantastic on the wall. That's a really great way to display them. Now, they are legal to sell. The dealers put some information there. If they predate 1939 and you can prove that, then they are legal to sell. And of course, they have to be decommissioned, but they look fantastic. I think this vase might actually be a Morano. Absolutely stunning. You know, I thought also maybe white friars. I'm not an expert when it comes to glass, but there's a polished base there, which I believe is Morano, and £20. So I think I'll come back for that one. Now that's how a Welsh dresser is meant to look. And you don't see that very much these days, but how impressive does that look? There's a huge coffer. It's £400, as you would expect. And a great age. Wow. That for a piece of furniture. Wow. The level of detail and carving is just incredible. That's mind blowing. I'm sure, you know what, I thought it'd be worth more than that. Yeah, Breton oak carving. That's amazing. We can get a shot of it again. Wow. A cool industrial chair. Very nice. So this area is very well known for incredible furniture. I've never seen a chair like that. What have we got here? £165 seems a very good price for such an unusual piece. Look at this. So this is German Westerwald pottery. I don't think I've ever seen one of that size. That's incredible. What I'm interested in here is a Persian or Middle Eastern lacquered pen box known as qualandim, I think is how you pronounce it in Arabic. They can be extremely valuable. That one looked around 19th century, but I couldn't get a really good picture of it, unfortunately. To explain where we're going and where we are in the centre, we're going down the stairs now, through that door, and the next section, the next door, is quite near the entrance actually. Now we're not over, we are going to go deeper into the centre, but it's just the way the building works. You do just zoom it, weave in and out of the place. I love finding things I've never seen before, and a Bosnian pipe like that I definitely haven't, so that's something new for me, and I know what it is if it ever shows up again. I'm not someone who knows a lot about these models of ships that you find. This one, which reading out was a Danish ship. This one seemed really good though. Just the amount of detail and time and effort that's gone into it. The box around it really looked the part. So I'll try and explain where we are. When we went down the stairs, we've gone back and then we've gone down a little bit again. So we're now in a little section which has a lot of toy dealers. Go and check them out if that's your type of thing. And we've moved a little bit further and we're going to have a look at some more of the antique stores. This little piece of treen that I was having a look at, couldn't quite work out what it was, but you know, there's some good carving and work that's gone into it, so there might be more of a story to that one. And we've gone into a little stall which had a huge collection of excellent quality glass. So I was just having a look at this claret jug with the silver plated top there. They can, even with the silver plated tops, can still fetch north of £100 sometimes, especially if it's the right maker and has a nice design to it. But yeah, they had lots of good pieces in here, some good glass, some ceramics, and just other interesting bits and bobs. Some silver as well within the cabinets, as you're seeing now. I haven't focused on jewellery very much in this video, just because it's not something I'm too familiar or knowledgeable in, but there is a lot in the centre for you to check out. There was a nice selection of uranium glass available here. If you don't know what that is, it's a period in glass making around the turn of the 20th century where a small amounts of uranium were put into the glass to create this green effect, and put under a UV light it becomes luminous. Now I have my loupe there which has a very small UV light on there, and you can see some of that luminous effect on some of this glass. It's not very good because it's such a small light. You can get bigger ones, but yeah, some of them, this one for example, was a really nice piece, and there's a lot of good collectors in there. A lot of good collectors of uranium glass around, and they can pull some very good prices. This is what's so funny about an antique centre. Just hidden amongst everything else is this quite impressive piece of Japanese bronze. It's a figure depicting a famous figure from Japanese folklore, and it's probably dating back to the Meiji period, late 19th century. So that's a good one, and I'd love to have that. Look at all this. Let me just start. As you can see, this is one of those rummage rooms. So much stuff in a tight, compacted space. I mean, you could be there for a couple of hours and not see everything. Yeah, masses and masses of different pieces of ceramic, English ceramics, glass. Then you had African carvings. What else have you got here? Pictures, lamps, I mean, anything you can imagine seems to be within this little section. So we are on the move again, and we're now going down to the bottom floor. As you come down the stairs on the right hand side, you're welcomed by a nice array of those Tiffany style lamps, so the glass lampshades in a range of different colours. Really good quality ones, I thought, and really look the part. Where we are now on the bottom floor is the area that has been done up to look like an old Victorian shopping arcade, and it just looks fantastic. So on this floor is where you find the cafe as well, which is open every day, just like the centre is. There's also a stand selling vintage football shirts. There's a fabric shop. There's a tarot reader as well, and there is a area called conservatory, which is also antique shops. They just didn't happen to be open on this day. I went late in the afternoon on a weekday. Usually they would be open as well. So though this is a long video, I'm not capturing everything, so there's loads more to see in this place. As there are over 30 independent dealers in the centre, you will find a range in prices. So what I'm looking at now, there was a table for £15 with an onyx top. That is a really good bargain. Of course, there's going to be other things that you buy or want to buy in the centre which are asking for the top end pricing, which is what you would expect in an antique centre. So it's worth having a look around because you never know what you're going to find. Sometimes it'll be a bargain, sometimes you will just get the highest quality item, and you'd pay what you expect to then. I had a closer look at this Chinese vase just because Chinese porcelain is so varied. Sometimes weird shapes like this turn out to be quite special. And I saw the rain mark. However, if you look at the foot rim, it was really flat and really good Chinese porcelain, antique porcelain. The foot rims are more like walls, so that would have been a more modern one. I always think if you're looking to buy a mirror, and every house needs them, go to an antique centre rather than someone like IKEA, because you will get a much better quality one, probably more stylish, and probably even at a better price. I really loved this shelf. I thought the shape of it, the design, the decoration, and the brass embellishments as well just really look spectacular, and it's such a big size as well. Looking at the tag, it's actually from Pakistan. Yeah, great piece the dealer's got there. I zoomed in on this fish because it's the famous fish which is actually Romanian, but it always gets labelled as Morano. I don't think the dealer had done that, by the way, but 9 times out of 10 people label them as Italian Morano rather than Romanian. This store had the mid-century style at the centre of it. Everything here seemed to have, yeah, that mid-century look. There's a couple of sets here of Portmeirion coffee sets, and the prices, I think they're around 75, £65, is interesting because I go into charity shops and see them asking for a lot more than this. So £70 for that set. Charity shops are usually asking up to £100 for that, which I think is quite interesting. The antique centres and the antique dealers are a lot of the time cheaper than the charity shops. We're now looking at a few of the stalls down the bottom end of the Victorian arcade, and some of the things in here I thought were spectacular, such high quality. We're now looking at oil painting on the wall, and I think that's something you would probably see in an art gallery. The frame is immense. It must be at least 19th century. Yeah, that's that would look good in any stately home. On the left there you see a pair of the Chesterfield leather chairs. Now in this centre, and I think there are a lot of different centres, antique dealers love having these because they're so popular and they don't stay there very long. So we're always on the lookout for them. Despite almost anyone looking at these vases and thinking they were Japanese, that's certainly what I thought. Having looked into it, they're actually by an English pottery called Bretby. This is a Chinese kampor. If not Chinese, it may be South Asian, but it's probably Chinese. Kampor chest. Now, you do see these around, but I don't think I've ever seen one like that before. I think it's just a bit more stylish. So, yeah, I like that, and I thought it was a good price. This is actually the final stall that we're going to look at in the centre. So if you got this far, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it today. Now there's some great things in here, such as this cabinet. It looks French to me. Yeah, it must be. But that seems like a really good price to me, 325 for something that decorative and unique. I really like this child chair, and if you look them up, some people are asking a lot more than that. That might be something I go back and have a little dabble on. There's a very large, or two very large wooden African carvings, and I did a video recently looking at the history of African art, so please go back and have a look at that. You may find that interesting. Here is some mid-century 1970s West German pottery there. Can be very popular, and this is a modern, maybe Chinese or Japanese vase. There we go then. Well, thank you for watching. That was the pumping station, an incredible place full of amazing things. I hope you saw lots of interesting pieces that, you know, maybe if you had walked past them, they would be something you would buy. Now, I didn't get the blue, what I thought was possibly Morano vase in the end. I went back and had a feel for it, and it just didn't have that ping that I would want it to have if it were Morano. So I thought I'd leave that for another day. I didn't buy anything else just because I'm a dealer. I wouldn't buy something off another person's store then put it on my own. So I would only buy something if I was taking it home to sell it online. It would have to have quite a substantial profit. So there was plenty of things that interested me, but nothing that gave me that type of return. Or if there were, I just missed them, and maybe you spotted them. So let me know if you saw anything in the video which maybe was a better buy than I thought. But there we go. It's an incredible place if you're ever in the area. So it's Penarth Road, by the city centre in Cardiff. Come down and have a visit because there's so much to see. I didn't even get round everywhere today. Some of the areas were closed, and there's a few more stores as well. So there we go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye now.